What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. In today's video, I've just got one story for you, but what an absolute banger of a story it is. It's a long one, and it involves a girl who is horribly entitled, toxic, strange. You guys make your mind up and let me know in the comments down below. This is a long one. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. The Problem Child and the PTA Parent. This story is very long, and there is a lot I don't know, so I'm going to stick with both what I was actually present for and what was recounted to me and verified through multiple sources, none of which vary from the story, so I am very inclined to believe them. I had to switch high schools my senior year due to a death in the family, so I was just finding my footing with a lot of people who had known one another since kindergarten, since the school itself was attended solely by the children of one small town. I first remember seeing Betty, not her real name, doing something she was apparently famous for, running into people and not stopping. Let me describe this for the full effect. Betty had a habit of expecting everyone and everything to move for her. So, if she was walking down the hall and you were at your locker, she would ram into you full force, stumble back, and then immediately do it again, and again, and again, until whatever she was running into moved or she tripped over it. So, if you were at your locker and she ran into you, you had to move or she would just keep repeating the same action, even going so far as to ram into the locker door until she couldn't get through. She even went so far as to step on you if you fell to the floor during this. She never apologized, and honestly, I wasn't at all shocked, because her expression never changed, and it really looked like someone just left a game running with a drifting controller and the character was just wandering in that direction. Nothing anyone said or did during these moments ever registered on her face or her eyes or even her life, because if you confronted her about it, she would look at you like you were crazy and act like it never happened. No one thought this was even a lie from her, because it was clear she genuinely believed nothing happened. I learned from the rest of the school over time that she had always been like this, and if anything, she was worse when she was younger. The other students knew she was not very smart and should, by rights, have failed every single class she had ever been in, but her mother was head of the PTA since her oldest daughter was born, so she was just moved along every year, and God forbid any teacher tried to bring attention to her grades or complete lack of attention span, or they would be fired. Maybe it was because I was new, or maybe it was because I seemed an easy target, but it took no time for Betty to cling to me and for every teacher to encourage it, because it meant less work for them. It was honestly a nightmare. She was everywhere I was, and they even switched my gym period around to be with her because, and I quote, "someone needs to help her change her clothes before and after gym." That was a big nope for me, and I made sure to basically run out the door the second gym was over and change my clothes in a random bathroom because they could not punish me for not helping her, and frankly, there should have been no reason to help in the first place. It was like this weird game of chicken was going on with Betty's mother and the rest of the school faculty. She couldn't admit her daughter wasn't really fit to be in that school in any way because she was already on thin ice for reasons that are not really important to the story. But at the same time, it was immensely clear Betty needed help well beyond the teacher's pay grade for a public high school in a small town in the middle of nowhere. So they were at a stalemate. The teachers kept passing her, and the mother didn't push too hard about weird things like changing her daughter's clothes for her, and would instead just show up at the school and do it herself multiple times a day for various things like eating lunch with Betty and making sure she was using the bathroom correctly. Now, at this point, I'm sure you are thinking that she was developmentally disabled in some way, and counselling and therapy were needed. That may be true, but it was from nurture and not nature, from what I was told and from what I experienced. I was informed that Betty actually had two older siblings, both about 10 years older, who were basically angels on earth. These two, a boy and a girl, were so kind and so sweet, butter wouldn't melt in their mouths. But they both seemed to be afraid of their mother and Betty, and a lot of their hard work and high scholastic achievements were based solely on graduating and moving away as soon as humanly possible from their mother and Betty. Apparently, Betty was a miracle baby, conceived well after medical science would have said it was no longer possible, and Betty's mother went bananas over her. She became obsessed and did literally everything for Betty, and just never let her grow up. She was never punished, never learned how to problem solve, and never learned to think independently, because why would she need any of that when Mummy was here to do all those boring things for her? Add all of that with the mother's place in the PTA, and Betty had never done homework or taken a test of any kind at any point in her 12 years of school. Her mother had done all of it. She had also pumped Betty full to the brim with unwarranted praise and adoration, to the point where Betty actually believed it. Betty, the person who had never done anything involving school except be in the building and sit still during class, full on believed she was a genius. She also believed she was better and prettier than every other human being on the planet, and thought the reason she had no friends was actual envy. She full on believed everyone was just so upset they weren't as smart and pretty as her that they decided the only way to live with their own mediocrity was to full on ignore her. Now, at this point, you might feel a little bad for Betty. I would have too. But then she opened her mouth, and the amount of toxicity and venom that spewed forth was strong enough that I am still shocked the EPA didn't show up and encase her in a glass dome, labelled toxic waste dump. She was transphobic, racist, anti-Semitic, sexist, and homophobic, as well as arrogant, self-centered, apathetic, and cruel to animals. Jesus, cruel to animals as well as all of that? I didn't think it was going to get any worse, but it did. But all of this is just set up for the thing that finally broke Betty's mother and yeeted Betty out of the school forever: the senior play. Now, the senior play was a big deal at this school. Only seniors could be in it, and everyone else was stagehands and lighting. Betty not only wanted to be in it, she wanted to be the star. Here is the thing though. Betty could not act, she couldn't take any sort of direction, and was functionally illiterate thanks to her mother never letting anyone teach her to read. Betty's mother decided that, because of this, she was going to basically co-direct the play, and by that I mean stand next to Betty and repeat all her lines to her over and over again while moving her around the stage physically. It took less than a week for the actual director, a teacher who was retiring in less than 3 months and could not give less of an F anymore, to throw his hands in the air and say this was clearly not going to work out, and that Betty needed a role with way fewer lines and much less stage time. The mother actually agreed to this. Everyone's guess was out of sheer exhaustion, but was not willing to be the bad guy and tell her precious little NPC no. So she scuttled off to the bathroom while the director broke the news. Betty lost her mind. She immediately became very violent and started trashing the stage and screaming at the top of her lungs. When the director tried to get her to stop, she, and this was all verified by no less than 5 different stagehands and actors, tackled this old man to the ground and bit him. She bit him so hard, she drew blood. The director was trying to get her to let go, but she was just digging her teeth into his arm and clamping down for all she was worth. I honestly don't think she had ever worked as hard at anything else in her life before or since as she did trying to take a chunk out of the director's arm. At this point, her mother ran back in. My guess is that she was alerted by the sudden screaming of the director and lack of screaming from Betty, and spent a good hot minute trying to pry Betty's jaw open and get her off of the director's arm. She was dragged away by her mother, the director was in a sling with bandages all over his arm for a while, and no one saw Betty again. Word got out that Betty's mother tried to play the whole thing off as it somehow being the director's fault for upsetting Betty and getting in her way by trying to stop her from destroying everything on stage that the students had worked so hard on. This was different though. This was assault, and Betty was already 18, so Mummy couldn't save her this time. It was decided behind closed doors that Betty would never return and just be mailed her diploma, and in exchange, no charges would be pressed. That was the last I ever saw or heard of Betty, but from what I understand, she still lives with her elderly mother to this day, and it has sucked the soul right out of that woman. I feel bad for her, but she made Betty into who and what she is today, so she can live with it. Yeah, not gonna lie guys, that was a bit of a whirlwind of a story, wasn't it? I was not expecting a lot of the stuff that happened in that story to happen, but I guess, you know, this is entitled parents, stuff like this does happen. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if the mum was fully entitled. I mean, I think she probably was, to be fair, but she didn't come across as like a normal Karen is what I'm trying to say. Her daughter though, Jesus, Betty, I don't understand. She was having to physically move her daughter around. That might be a little bit of a stretch because I'm not sure that would ever happen, but I understand the stuff about not being able to read, write, you know, pass through school, just getting, you know, put through because your mum is who she is. But Jesus, biting the arm of your teacher at the end. Weird. I don't think I've ever come across a story of a kid biting their teacher's arm before. I hope it tasted nice, is all I can think to say to that. Betty, you are a weird girl. I wish you the best in life. Something tells me you may not have the most enjoyable life / enjoy the most success, but you know, I don't know. I mean, what could Betty even do after school? Like, literally, she's not going to pass school now. That's confirmed, because her mum now isn't, able to just say, yeah, just pass her. That's confirmed. She's not going to pass. So therefore, she's going to have no qualifications, not going to be able to go to college. So the only thing I can think that she could possibly do with her life is become a professional eater / biter, because that is the only thing that she has some real experience in, and she's clearly very good. If her mum had to pry open her jaw, yeah, to get her to get off this teacher's arm, she must have a very strong bite. So I think she should put that to some sort of professional use. Weird. Betty is a weird girl, but in my heart of hearts, I think she's probably nice. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this video. By the way, I completely disagree with what I just said. She's definitely not nice. So, make of that what you will. Comment down below, what do you think of Betty and what do you think of her mother? Seriously, who do you think was like more entitled? It's got to be Betty, right? Her mum doesn't seem too bad. But yeah, just my opinion. If you want more from me right away, then make sure to subscribe to the channel over here. That's a nice button you can click. It's awesome. If you want some merch, that's down here as well. And if you want a playlist of all my Entitled Parents videos to binge watch, if you're on holiday, for example, got nothing better to do, then yeah, I'd appreciate you clicking this link. And now I'll be going. See you all later with a brand new video.